It's been so long since we've done a Larry Boy that it was in old software and old technology, and so really to do Larry Boy again is really like starting from scratch.
We thought, well, if we're starting from scratch, let's look at this. Do we have to do it the same way? And let's make Bumblyburg grow up a little bit. Let's put some taller buildings in and push the adventure side of it.
Most comic book shows or movies, every time they go back to it, a lot of times the location that the show takes place in is altered.
And so, to get his plungers to stick and for him to be able to be mobile through the city, he needed bigger buildings, and so Bumblyburg got a little bit bigger.
The script called for a big festival in the downtown, or the park. I was influenced by a lot of small town, kind of that center point fountain or statue that you usually have in a park.
The Larry Cave, Tim, the director, basically had this vision of this kind of circular cavern. So we had that blueprint, and then it was basically up to us to just flesh out all the computer gizmos and stuff in there. And we tried to think of a whole bunch of different things, that would actually make sense.
The Larry Mobile we've redesigned a little bit. That's kind of gotten redesigned with every show. Kind of harkens back to the cartoon version we did.
Top speed is around 200 miles an hour without the afterburners, so.
At least 120, 150, something like that.
If the United States didn't put a restriction on it, it would probably go light speed. I
always like to do a voice in my shows, so I picked Curly, this carnival barker. Hey, yeah, right. Kind of guy with his fedora tipped over one eye.
Yeah, right. Very smooth.
I did a quick animation cycle. I didn't want him slithering like a snake, so I made him move kind of, springy.
Now, great Uncle Ephraim, our time has come.
It was a fine line to walk to make her villainous but not too scary.
Temptation should look appealing, but the part that you don't see is that underneath, it's dangerous.
This is actually the first time in a while that we had a character with legs or arms.
We had to be careful not to make them too pointed, too sharp looking.
She's got 6 instead of 8. Somehow it's too less scary. Well, we had to redesign Larry Boy before. All of his collar and his belt and everything pretty much went straight across his body. And I thought, well, let's angle a little bit. His belt is a little bit of an angle. His collar comes up a little bit more. It gives him a little more action feel when he's standing still.
Well, when we get Larry Boy, his outfit is all gray. We do all the, paint the characters, the outfits, anything that isn't provided by the company. Like if there's something very specific. So we've got normal Larry, we've got Larry Boy in his little sweats outfit, Larry Boy in his pilgrim outfit. The further a building is in the background, usually the less detail we can put into it, and then the closer it is, the more detail it has to have. Because you don't want to waste your time putting a lot of detail into something that doesn't get seen. You don't really see inside the bathroom, but that there's, little toilet, little painting, or little pictures on the wall. Like, it's a really detailed set. The textures that we make, it's kind of like it's a flat image, but that goes on a 3D object, I guess like a ball, and then having a flat piece of paper when you wrap it around where the edges meet each other. We have to make sure it lines up, and that's what we would call a seam. If we can't fix a seam, we try to hide it so that it's on a part of an object that you never see.
I usually start off by listening to what's being said in a certain shot. This is the storyboard.
Don't worry, Doctor. Get back to the Larry Cave.
Sometimes even write down what is being said and sort of think about how I'm going to act it out. So I'll maybe do a little thumbnails and pose out the character. From that one picture that we saw in the storyboards, I drew 4 other ones just to get a better idea of what I want to do. And we'll transfer these poses. And this is the final render.
Don't worry, Doctor. See you back to the Larry Cave. Over and out.
You start with one light, and that's mainly your first directional light. What the shadows will come out as. Minor rims or any other pieces, you just go right in and start adding the subtleties that is our job. And eventually we do put the characters over top of that. And what we do is we light them individually. You match them to the set, and then you try to pull them out just a little bit so that they stand out.
No energy. Need chocolate.
I was excited to be coming back to Larry Boy because I knew that the music was going to have some great opportunities to further the story. It can be a challenge to find the balance between, okay, what drives the scene and makes it intense, but doesn't scare a little child, because they do sense something's going to happen because I hear scary music.
Curly, you've returned. Come, tell me what you've learned.
Some percussion in the background that's always driving something. Doesn't have to be real big. It can be, I used a little scraper on some things. I used some little drums that I was playing throughout scenes that just keep you on edge and know, okay, something's not quite right. Something needs to develop here. And within that bed of movement underneath everything, then as action is happening, you can accent certain beats. Larry Boy comes in, so you go ba 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 bum ba ba bum bum bum. Now Bad Apple comes in, da 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 da. The credits roll is one of my favorite parts because it gives a little synopsis of our music from the show.
Once I'm finished with them, I'll be the one in control.
The original Larry Boy theme song was much more kind of R&B and you know, a lot of fun, but we thought it'd be great to just consider other ideas for a Larry Boy song and what that might look like. It
pulled in a couple different writers to pitch us some different ideas.
The moment we heard it, we realized we need a hair band to sing this song.
So what vegetable has hair? Well, corn has hair. And then Todd Carter, who's our boarding artist, did a marvelous job boarding this segment.
We brought him out of semi-retirement, dusted him off and polished him up, and makes a grand reappearance.
When we put that trailer out, we all sat in a room and watched it together, and we asked ourselves, I wonder what it's gonna look like, you know? And then to go in the next room and go, okay, well, it's gonna have to look something like this and something like this. It was like living up to our own expectations. That was pretty tricky.
There was no shortage of ideas of things we could do and gadgets we could make for Larry Boy and vehicles, and I hope we do another one soon.
I'm 25 or whatever, and I watch the stories and I'll still get into it, you know, and still laugh and whatever.
I've always enjoyed Larry Boy. Larry Boy is a fun character to work with.
I'd love to come back to Bumblyburg as soon as possible.
I've always enjoyed Larry Boy, and I wanted to bring him back. It was fun to get the chance.